Hey everyone, ZomaRocks26 here, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be going over episode 2 of our adventure map Let's Build. For this episode, we're going to be finishing up our medieval castle, as well as doing some basic WorldEdit Terraforming, in which it'll include some tips and tricks. So let's get into the video. Alright, so first of all, we're going to be building up this big tower in the corner. You'll be seeing some of the commands that we're using in the bottom left of the screen. And this will just be part of the video. It'll help you get a little bit of WorldEdit tips in case you didn't already know them. But anyway, for the rest of this build, we're going to be just framing certain edges using our stone bricks, and we're going to wrap this all the way around the entire build. And as well, we already completed this ring of stone bricks around the top of the tower. So now that we've done that, we're going to go around and add some more supports to the building on the bottom. So this is going to include some cobblestone mainly, and then we're just going to wrap this all the way around the entire build. And then once we've completed this wraparound, we're also going to add some details. So this is basically going to be a larger version of some of the other towers that we've already built in this castle. So now that we've done that, let's add some details, and then we'll call it a day with those supports. And then as we go up to the top, we're going to be adding some upside down staircases all the way around the build and adding some stone bricks on top of them, and this will make a nice little support that'll look great with our roof. So we'll add some half slabs as well in between the gaps of these blocks, working our way all the way around. And then once we've done that, we can get started on our roof. So we're going to use spruce again. So this tower is basically modeled after the towers at the castle gate. We're just making a larger version of this tower. And so one trick I use when making these kinds of towers is we're going to be starting off with each time we go inward, we're only going to increase by one block, except for these parts at the middle that you're going to see I'm already building up a little bit taller. So we're going to start off building these one block high, and then as we continue maybe a couple times of this, we're going to start increasing them by 2 blocks, say. And then we're just going to keep increasing this as we get taller and taller. So now that we've done our 1 blocks, you can see me wrapping around our 2 block high structure along the perimeter of this build. So then we're going to keep doing this until we get all the way to the middle. So every couple of times or so, we're going to increase the height by 1 block. And that's one trick I use to get a really nice shape for most of my towers, and how I'm able to do this by feel, even though I've never really done a tower roof this big. It's just a strategy that tends to work for these builds, and that's a tip that I want to share with you guys for this one. And as you can see, it's already starting to look a lot like those towers down there. And this is one method you can use to really make almost any kind of pointy tower design. And you can see this in the wizard tower video that I made as well. So now that we're almost done, you guys can get a good idea for how this thing looks. I think it looks gigantic, but in a good way. And that's really what I was hoping to get. I wanted to kind of go after that Hogwarts vibe. If you guys are familiar with what that castle looks like, I'm sure you are, because you're all nerds. But so we're going to be building the inside of this window, and then we're going to use some stripped spruce wood and some fence gates, and that'll look nice. And now that we've done that, we're going to be working on the walls, which are marked out in orange wool throughout the build. So we're going to be framing the outside of these little edges with these stone brick pillars, and then we're going to fill in the inside using smooth stone. And this will be a pretty simple wall design, but it happens to look pretty nice, and it happens to have a decent bit of depth because of how we frame our supports around it. So we're just going to frame this little border up top with stone bricks, and then as well we're going to add some upside down staircases here alongside the pillars and in between. And we're going to add some stone bricks and some slabs on the inside, and this will make a nice little depth feature on top, but it's very straightforward. And then we're going to add our supports, which is just some blocks and some stairs, and it looks nice, and we'll add another layer to have it stick out like that, and that just adds a nice bit of depth to your build. Even though it's really simple detail, it really just makes a difference, and you're going to see that we have these kinds of details all around the entire build, and that's something that we can keep uniform throughout our build, and that's something that is another good tip for like these large build projects, is to you want to have some sort of unity between all of these elements, and that's one way we're doing it, whether it's the cobblestone that you see around the towers or these stone bricks that we have on the sides of these walls. It's some sort of unification throughout the whole build, and that's one thing that you can really use to tie your builds together, is to come up with these common elements that you can use throughout your build, and it really makes a big difference in the end. So now that we've done that, we're going to finish our final wall, just building up these pillars one more time, and then filling them in with our smooth stone again. And another way you can tie your elements is, it seems like common sense, but is to pick out a block palette in advance. And so for our block palette for this thing, we're using smooth stone, we're using stone bricks, we're using cobblestone, we're using our stone brick slabs, and we're using our spruce wood. Those are the main block palettes that we're using. In addition, we have some stripped spruce wood and some gates here and there, so never feel free to restrict yourself to what you pick either. So there's two sides of that coin, but at the same time, having a block palette in advance and having these common building elements can really bring your build to life and make it seem like it's all cohesive and connected. And yeah, so I am eventually planning to do a full tutorial on this castle, but in the meantime, I hope you guys enjoy this time lapse, and I hope you guys enjoyed the process of us going through this series, because I'm really excited about this one. So now that we finished this castle, we're going to get into a bit of terraforming. So this terraforming bit is going to include some tips and stuff, although it will not be a formal tutorial. If you guys really want a formal tutorial about like how I made these mountains, for example, please let me know, although there are already plenty of existing tutorials which can give you some tips. But if you really want one of mine, just let me know and I will make one. So what we did there was just clear out a little bit, and then we're going to also clear out this big lake. So what we're using is these 1 block high cylinders in order to really eat away at this ground and make these nice below ground features such as lakes and rivers. So we started by making this lake using our cylinder of air brush tool to go all the way around this lake and dig it maybe about 5 blocks deep. And then we made this nice little snaking river pattern, which is really fun. And then we're just going to go all the way down until we hit stone level. So the reason why you're seeing these different blocks is because of how I customized my flat world terrain. I customized it so we have a layer of grass, a couple layers of dirt, and then some stone underneath all the rest. So that's just why you're seeing it look like this. And then as well, we're going to be using our smooth brush to kind of smooth out some of these features. And then I looked back on it and I was like, this lake is way too small. So we're going to double the size of it, if not even bigger. So you're going to see me kind of making this massive irregular oval-shaped lake. And then we're going to eat away at the rest of this grass, the rest of this dirt, until we get the desired shape. So one way you could really speed up this process is by increasing the radius of the brush size. However, I decided to keep mine a little bit on the smaller side because I think it gives me a little bit more control, and this isn't really that long of a process anyways. You're seeing this footage is sped up to about 10 times the speed that I'm working at to give you guys a little bit of perspective. So it really wasn't all too time consuming. So for me, it was worth it to have a little bit of extra control by using the slightly smaller brush. So you see we're kind of working our way around each layer, making sure it kind of goes in almost as if it's similar to the Minecraft generated terrain. So I think like when you're making these builds, it's definitely okay to use real life build as a reference, but also it's okay to use Minecraft terrain as a reference, because Minecraft terrain is already like decent in a lot of ways, especially our plain biomes. So that's kind of one way that I was modeling some of these shapes that we're using here. As well, we're going to be adding some gravel, stone, and cobblestone in this nice little brush around, and we're going to have to mask our grass and dirt as a part of this as well. So you'll be seeing some of those commands in the bottom left corner already. And then as well, we're going to use our smooth brush. So in order to do this, we're going to have to turn off our global mask, which we can just use by doing //gmask. And then we return to our mask again, once again, to do this gravel pattern around the rest of the river. And then we're going to keep doing it as well for some of the parts that we missed, including the grass blocks and the dirt blocks. However, I decided to keep the stone the same on the bottom just because I think it already looks pretty nice that way. Now you can totally customize this if you want it to be like coarse dirt and sand, podzol, wood. There's many different ways you can customize this depending on your needs, but I kind of like the look of the gravel and the cobblestone. I think it looks a little bit gritty, and I like the gray color. So we're going to fill in this pool with water. I think it's really satisfying. So we're going to use the fix water plugin after we place a couple of water blocks just at the height level that we want. And then we're going to work our way all the way through the middle until all of this water is fixed and no longer running. And then as well, we're going to continue this all the way through. So be warned, if you do use the fix water plugin, make sure you don't have any flowing water nearby that you don't want to become still water. And that's just a warning that I'm giving you guys, because it will be catastrophic if you do have stuff like that. So anyway, we're going to be filling in the rest of this terrain because we don't want it to be super flat, and we want it to be dynamic, you know? So we're going to be using some of these spear brushes that are mixed with sand and air so that it doesn't create these super WorldEdit looking things. Now, because this is a let's build and not really a tutorial, you're gonna see some of my quote-unquote failures in this build. And I think I definitely learned my lesson the second time I was doing this process, that the way that I'm doing this right now isn't definitely not the most efficient way that I could have gone about doing this. So you'll see me filling in all of this with our spheres of sand, which is fine. But then this next part, I was using kind of some smooth brushes and kind of manually filling in some things around, which really wasn't the fastest way for me to go about this. And what the fastest way was to go about this was to use our cylinder brush. However, you will see some of the commands that I'm using, because this is still useful to look at. Definitely the smooth tool can be very useful. However, I'd be careful around your builds and around these kinds of mountains, because we don't want those blocks to be affected. We only want our sand to be affected. So we're using our smooth tool, and I like to use a medium to small sized radius, so 3 was appropriate for me. And you're going to see me manually filling some things. I even sped up this footage even more just because I didn't want it to take too much of the time in this video. But I figured it would still be useful to show this footage, and it's part of the time lapse, so why not? But so we're going through manually filling this, and then even later we're going to end up filling in even more of this area after we do some other parts later. So don't even worry about this right now. And I think it looks much nicer the second time around. So yeah, we're about to fill in all this, filling in some blocks manually using our smoothing tool, and it creates a little bit of a lumpy terrain if I'm being honest, so we're gonna fix that later. And now that we go into our next part, we're gonna be changing this to stone, and we're naturalizing it. Those are both really important commands in the end, especially the naturalize command. So now we're gonna do this the second time, and this time we're gonna do it right. So we're gonna be using, again, our brush spheres that are mixed with sand and air. We're gonna use a radius of 5 because we want it to be a little bit bigger. This will speed up the process, and it'll still look good in the end. So definitely, if you can't speed things up, do it. You know, why not? Especially if it's not going to compromise any detail in the end. So I would just go for the bigger brush like that, and then we're going to work our way all the way around. We're even going to cover up some of this ugliness that we just made over there. So that'll look a little better soon. So we're just going to fill in all of this with our new spear brush. And this will make nice little curvy terrain. And the reason why I decided to mix in some air is so that we don't get those super WorldEdit looking spears, and sometimes it'll help to have this, because once we add our cylinders on top, it'll kind of allow some of the terrain to naturally increase or decrease, and then we can kind of manually shape some of this as well. So this was definitely a more effective way of going about this process, and I wish I had figured it out like this the first time, but oh well. It only took maybe half an hour of kind of fiddling around for me to kind of figure this out properly. So glad we did, and then I can really show you guys a better way about doing this. And also another disclaimer is that I'm still not even sure if this is the best way to go about doing this. This is how I did it, and I think it looks nice in the end to do it this way. But obviously if you guys have any other recommendations or whatnot, you can put it in the comments, and maybe in the future terraforming videos that we can make, I can improve these videos in the future. So just let me know. And anyway, we're going to be using our cylinders around, and what we're going to do is use these 1 block high cylinders to smooth out some of this terrain. You'll see there's lots of holes in this terrain. So we're using our little cylinder brush to make these circles, and these some of the sand blocks will fall down, and we can also use them to make these nice little shapes around the entire build. And this kind of shape will kind of look a little bit like our plains biomes, but what I like about what we're doing here manually is that we can create these kinds of cliffs along the lake, and these look really nice. And in some future videos, we'll see how we can decorate them and add bridges and whatnot, and I'm really excited to show you guys all that. I just didn't want this video getting too long. But yeah, you'll see we're adding these nice little shapes. I think it looks pretty good. And as well, we're going to be doing on both sides. And what I wanted is the middle to be a little bit flatter, and that's where we're going to add our path. And I kind of wanted to have that open path leading to the castle from our bridge, as you guys were able to see in perhaps the last video I made during the intro sequence. So I'm still editing some of that footage, but I'm really excited to show you guys it in the end, because it's really fun to make these kinds of videos. I love large-scale projects like this. Especially when you can really show many different elements of Minecraft throughout a series like this. You can show building, you can show world editing, terraforming, you can show commands, you can show so many different things. And one thing that we're doing here is we're going to just continue this process all the way through on the opposite side as well. And I didn't do this whole terraforming thing, but what I'll do in a later video is I'll speed up this footage probably 40 times the speed, just so you can watch me get it done. But at this point I feel like I've gotten most of what I wanted to do out of these building tips, so that's really the point of this video. But yeah, we're going to be finishing all of this. We're going to be doing the same process. Hopefully you can see the effects of the smoothing. I think it looks really nice, and I think it's pretty satisfying to watch as well, especially when it's sped up like this. So again, we're using our cylinder brushes at a radius of 5. You can even increase this radius a little bit more, but I think again this gives us a little bit more control, and the 5 block radius is already pretty substantial. So yeah, we're just going to be finishing this up, and we're almost done with this video now, but hope you guys enjoy. I really love the way the water looks with these shaders as well, so I'll be including links to any of the mods that I use in the description per usual. And yeah, we're just going to do a little bit of a show around after this, and I hope you guys enjoy. Alright, so here's some of the castle, and here's some of the stuff that you have to look forward to. We're going to be adding trees, we're going to be adding paths, we're going to be adding our bridge later. Really excited about this video in this series, and I'm so excited to show you guys about the next 2 mega builds that we have planned as part of this adventure map. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and if you like this video, remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos about this series. I'm very excited to show you guys this, and I hope you guys have a good one. And with that, I'll say peace.